So, all right. So, again, good afternoon, everyone. So, we will be talking about Module 11, and that is about elements and the principles of different arts. All right. So, our objectives for today's lesson, number one, is to enumerate the elements of the visual arts. Second is to enumerate the properties and classification of colors. Number three, identify how light affects color. And number four, value the mystery of color perception and the use of the art elements. So let's talk about first the elements of visual arts. Now, the material that the artist uses in creating a work of art are the medium and the elements that put together. Now, an element of art can be seen in some medium. Now, this element is independent of the medium. For instance, just like an example, a pencil line or an ink line. Now, the medium is the physical means through which we can come into contact with a work. Now, the first element, we have line. Now, as an element, line is the simplest and the most ancient and most universal means for creating visual art. A line is a prolongation of a point, and as a prolongation, it may be a straight curve, according to which we can come into contact with a work. Next is the value. Now, the relative degree of lightness and darkness in a graphic work of art or a painting. This indicates the degree of luminosity, that is the presence or the absence of the light. Now, in a value scale, white is considered as the highest value and black is the lowest point. Now, the point halfway between them is called the medium. Now, the point halfway between medium and black is classified as dark. Now, it is value that gives the impression of the solidity. Next is the light and shadow. Now, light and shadow, known as chiaroscuro, the Italian word for light and dark, is different from value. Value is about the intensity of the lightness and the intensity of the darkness of the color. Now, the light and shadow is a means of modeling a figure in depth and a means of articulating the form. Just like on this example, from the light source, you can actually notice right away the light side of the medium, then the form shadow and the cast shadow. Next is form. Now, the external appearance of a clearly defined area, and it also refers to the visual shape of an object or thing found in nature. Forms are used to describe simple objects and determines the structure of these objects. Forms can be natural, it can be abstract, non-objective, or even geometric. Now, what are the example of the natural forms? So we have leaves, the animals, trees, and even the mountains. Geometric, we have the pyramids, the cylindrical towers or the cylinders, and the box-like edifice. Next is the texture. Now, the surface quality of an artistic work. Now, the texture gives also the variety and beauty to any work of art. The sense of sight and the sense of touch are involved. Now, the variations in texture of objects, buildings, and structure help avoid a monotonous effect. Next is the space. Now, space is an art element which is concerned with making all parts functional so that it allows the individual parts contribute to the wholeness and the completeness of the art. Now, space exists as illusion in the graphic presentation. Next, we have color. Now, the quality of an object or substance with respect to the reflected light, and it is usually determined visually by the measurement of hue, saturation, and brightness of the reflected light. Now, it is also a series of wavelengths which strikes the retina. Now, every ray of light coming from the sun is composed of different waves which move at different speed. The different classifications of colors. Now, first we have the primary colors. The primary colors, we have the red, yellow, and the blue. And these are the primary colors because all other colors are produced by combining any of the two colors. For example, red plus blue, it can create the secondary color, which is violet. Then orange plus yellow, it can create the secondary colors of orange. Then blue plus yellow, it can create the color green. And these are the secondary colors, green, violet, and orange. Next, we also have tertiary colors. It produced by combining in equal mixture any two secondary colors, such as the orange yellow, the violet green, and the orange green. Next, we have the intermediate colors. It is produced by mixing an equal amounts of primary and secondary colors. Now, these colors are yellow-orange, red-orange, red-violet, blue-violet, blue-green, and yellow-green. Now, let's talk about more about colors. So, we have black. Now, black is considered the darkest and the dullest, only considered a color when mixed with other colors. And it is also often associated with despair, gloom, death, and mourning. Next, we have blue, one of the primary colors, and it is similar to the color of the sky and of the deep of our ocean. Now, it also gives the impression of vastness and infinity, and often associated with tranquility, calmness, and peace. Next, we have gray. Now, gray is the combination of black and white and of the three primary colors. Now, it is often associated with way, solidarity, and even neutrality. Next, we have green, the color of still water and vegetation. Now, often associated with growth, freshness, and hope. Next, we have orange. It is a combination of red and yellow and often associated with deliciousness and sweetness. Next, pink, a combination of red and white, and this is often associated with love. Next, we have red. It is one of the primary colors, and this color is often associated with fire, blood, danger, festivity, bravery, war, passion, energy, and warmth. Next, we have violet, a combination of red and blue, and it is often associated with shadows, mourning, penance, royalty, and power. Next, we have white. Now, when taken independently, it is not actually considered a color. It is the lightest of all colors, and this is often associated with simplicity, clarity, purity, and peace. Next, we have yellow, one of the primary colors as well, and the color of light. This is often mistaken as a color of jealousy. Now, this is often associated with life, joy, sunshine, cheerfulness, warmth, splendor, and even hospitality. Next, yellow-green, a mixture of yellow and green, and a kind of color that is not very pleasant for the eyes. Next, we have brown, a mixture of red and a little green, said to be the safest color and often associated with humility and confidence. Now, let's take a look on the difference between warm colors and cool colors. Now, seem to advance while cool colors seem to recede. Warm colors give the illusion under a certain condition that they are closer to the viewer than cool colors do. Now, some artists have exploited this quality to deeper or flatten space in their works. Next, we have color harmony. It is the correct combination and arrangement of colors so that they will appear pleasing to the eyes. So there are different kinds of color harmony. We have the complementary, the split complementary, analogous, triadic, we have the tetradic, the square, and the commonly used color harmony, the monochromatic. Now, monochromatic, this harmony employs only one color with its tints and shades. An example on this one, we have the color red. Now, harmonizing with red using monochromatic colors are the red, the medium red, and the dark red. And you can actually see that the lightest portion of this monochromatic has the color pink. Next, analogous harmony. Now, the uses of colors which possess one common color in all their mixture. Now, these colors are found near each other in the color chart, just like on this analogous colors example. An example is the combination of the orange, then the red-orange, yellow, then the yellow-orange. So this is the two chart for yellow and orange. Then we have the red, then red violet, then violet to blue violet, blue blue green green, and yellow green. Now let's talk about how light determines color. Now with good reason, a woman buying a dress will often take it out into daylight to see the true colors. She usually finds that any color in the fabric is far more pronounced in sunlight than under the fluorescent lamps, which concentrate much of their energy into the blue wavelengths of the spectrum. Now, while the energy of sunlight is distributed evenly through the spectrum, thus it giving the fabric a sufficient red light to reflect. Now, let us also talk about the mystery of color perception. Now, Isaac Newton first speculated on how colors are perceived, and yet the phenomenon of seeing in color, which man shares with a number of other animals, including apes, goldfish, and bees, is now only beginning to be clearly understood. Now, it has been a major problem that color vision involved physiological process whereby light energy is transformed into color signals to the brain, and physiological process by which the brain also interpret the signals. Now, an early theorist with the name Thomas Young could present a satisfactory explanation of color vision as purely physiological action, in which a combination of the three primary colors is sufficient to create any hue. Now, let's talk about the different uses of art elements. First element, we have symbols. Now, these are made up of different shapes used to depict or symbolize objects. Objects are simplified so that only the prominent part is represented. Another element, we have the pictures. Now, the use of the art elements give the difference of how pictures are being represented. Now, the conservative artists represent things exactly as they see them in nature, just like this one. While a modernist tries to interpret nature as they feel it. So you can actually notice that on this example, the artist use a different approach. This one is more on a naturalistic approach, and this one is more on a realistic or realism approach, a combination also of abstract. Next, we have emotion. Now, it is expressed by different elements which symbolize or suggest feelings. Example, we have despair, mourning, hope, love, passion, hate, anger, fear, and actions like conflict, struggle, crying, violence, kissing, and even laughing. All right.